Wow, that was fantastic. I got to give a round of applause to The Last Dance documentary, as it was, to me, the greatest sports documentary ever made. And we finally saw it come to an end after seeing episodes 9 and 10. What is going on, y'all? FaizSportsTalk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA, here to talk about the documentary, of course, The Last Dance, and talk about episodes 9 and 10. So if you are new to the channel, welcome, guys. I have been giving my reaction to every episode in The Last Dance. So again, if you haven't checked those out, go ahead and do so. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Helps me a lot when you support the channel, and follow me, guys, on my social media if you guys want to reach out to me and you know, ask questions, etc. With that being said, there's so much to get to in episodes 9 and 10. I mean, my goodness, okay? These might have been the best 2 episodes of the entire series, okay? I have so much to get to. We had Steve Kerr, Scottie Pippen, of course, Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause. Let's just get started. So like I mentioned, I have a lot to get to, so I'm going to kind of just jump around because I don't know where to start, okay? But let's just start with Steve Kerr, okay? Let's just start with Steve Kerr, who was a surprisingly big part of these episodes, okay? There was a lot about Steve Kerr. We even got a backstory on Steve Kerr, which I had no idea about. I did not know about Steve Kerr's backstory. Now, again, Steve Kerr was a very good role player, very good three-point shooter, one of the greatest in NBA history. And, you know, obviously we know him as the coach of the Golden State Warriors, but we never hear the backstory about Steve Kerr. And the fact that we saw that his father was killed, that was crazy to me. I had no idea about that at all. You know, they asked him, you know, have you talked to Michael about the, you know, the relationship both you guys had with your dads? And Steve Kerr basically says, no, he didn't. And so to me, that part was crazy. And these are the little things you kind of take away, right, from the documentary, because you didn't know about this before. I'm a sports nut. Like, I try to read up on everything, especially with the Bulls dynasty. No idea about Steve Kerr and his dad and his dad getting killed. So that was crazy. Obviously very tragic. But then we also see Steve Kerr and him hitting the biggest shot of his career in the 5th championship against the Jazz. Obviously, when Michael Jordan in the timeout says, you know, get ready, Steve. And Steve Kerr's like, yeah, I'll be ready. Just find me. And he does so. And then his speech at the victory parade. Oh, my goodness. I mean, Steve Kerr's humor is hilarious. I mean, I love seeing that. So a lot about Steve Kerr in these episodes, which I like seeing. Steve Kerr's a great guy, obviously. So I love seeing that. Okay. Another thing I want to hit on, the flu game, which no longer should be called the flu game. It should be called the food poisoning game. But because it doesn't sound as cool, I guess we're just not going to call it that, okay? Because here's the thing. Michael Jordan literally admitted it now, that the game that everybody knows as the flu game against the Utah Jazz was actually food poisoning, okay? He orders a pizza, and the pizza delivery guys come. It's 5 of them. So basically they all knew they were delivering to Michael Jordan, and he eats the pizza. Nobody else eats it. And he ends up, you know, waking up in the middle of the night, throwing up. Okay. And obviously we know what happens. He goes out and he absolutely balls out. He'd have like 38 points in that game after. But the fact is, folks, I've had food poisoning before. It is not fun at all. You don't want to get out of bed. So the fact that MJ was not able to just play, but go out and do what he did, my goodness, that is ridiculous. And actually, people should call it the food poisoning game, not just because it was that, but because playing with food poisoning, yeah, it's probably harder than playing with the flu. Okay, so to me, it's crazy that, you know, we still call it the flu game when it wasn't that. Okay, so to me, another thing we found out from the documentary, but I had known a little bit about this. I've read about, you know, the flu game was really not the flu. He had food poisoning. This confirmed it. So this confirmed it. So loved finding that out. Okay, and I'm happy I did. So we need to stop calling it the flu game. It's the food poisoning game from now on. A couple other fun things in the episode. We obviously see Dennis Rodman just in the middle of the NBA Finals decides to just take a hiatus and go and, you know, wrestle in the WWE with Hulk Hogan. I mean, could you imagine if an NBA player did that? I mean, he would get absolutely killed and destroyed by the media. I mean, it's so crazy how, you know, much of an impact the media and social media has on, you know, these players today that obviously wasn't there back then. And we see, obviously, the cut of Dennis Rodman coming back to the Bulls facility and him trying to escape the media. And they're literally running after Dennis Rodman up the stairs and trying to, get an interview with him. That was crazy to me. So, again, like I said, man, if you had taken the media that there is now, where we would literally analyze every single thing a player does on and off the court, and you compared to back then, I'm just saying, folks, a lot of things would have been different. A lot of things, trust me. And Dennis Rodman, a player like him, who obviously he needed to, do things his way because he was just that type of guy, he would have gotten killed, folks. He would have gotten absolutely killed for those actions, okay? Another fun thing, I guess, or I shouldn't say fun, it was heartfelt, and that was Michael Jordan talking about his relationship with his security guard, Gus. And that was something else I didn't know about, how close Michael Jordan was to a security guard. Folks, you got to understand this. When you are at the stature of a Michael Jordan, you're the most famous athlete in not just, obviously the U.S., but the entire world. You are going to spend a lot of time with your security because anytime you're out, you need security. There's no way Michael Jordan's walking alone anywhere, okay? Especially in the U.S. And so you get really tight with your security guards, and Michael Jordan got really tight with Gus, and he ends up, calling him a father figure like in this documentary. So I didn't know about that. And folks obviously think, when you're MJ, everything's great. Everybody wants to be like you. Everybody wants to do everything for you. But it gets kind of lonely, right? Because you're obviously just with your security guards, and, it's hard to trust people. And Michael really trusted Gus. So that was crazy to see. And I didn't know about that either. So love seeing that. And then let's switch over, obviously, to, the championships, 97 versus the Jazz and 98 versus the Jazz as well. Obviously, we saw the John Stockton interview, which was crazy. And John Stockton just saying, we weren't intimidated by Michael Jordan, the Bulls. We just went out and played. We played to win. And John Stockton, man, he doesn't get enough respect. He's one of the greatest players ever in NBA history. Most assists in NBA history. I believe the most steals as well. I mean, this is the guy. I think he's Steve Nash before Steve Nash, okay? With better defense. And Karl Malone. Say what you want about Karl Malone, but one of the greatest power forwards ever. They don't get talked about just because obviously they don't have the rings. But they need to. They need to get a lot of respect for the way they played. And I really like the fact that Karl Malone went and shook Michael Jordan's hands and hugged him even after the loss. Takes a big man to do that, no pun intended. So like seeing that. But in terms of the championships, Michael Jordan, obviously we know in Game 6 of the 98 finals, goes for the layup. By the way, what kind of defense was that? Where they just gave him a freeway to the basket, okay, and he just scores. That was horrible defense by the Jazz. And then obviously he steals the ball from Karl Malone, comes back down. We know he, goes ahead and makes a move on Byron Russell, and he hangs in the air with the shot, the pose, and then the rest is history, right? And he says it in the documentary, that wasn't a push-off. And folks, I also thought that was a push-off. For a lot of years, I've been thinking it's a push-off, right? Because Byron Russell, clearly, you see Michael Jordan's hand on his back or on his lower side, and Byron Russell is just falling over. But when you watch it again, I think it's the angle where, you see his backside. Byron Russell really is falling already before Michael Jordan does anything. So when Michael Jordan makes that move, Byron Russell's already trying to catch up to him. He's already losing his balance. And all MJ does is just put his hand on Byron Russell, and it looks like a push-off because Russell's falling down. So to me, I'm changing my opinion officially now. That was not a push-off, okay? No biases here. I just call it like I see it. It's new information. I have to change my opinion. So I'm going to do just that, okay? That was not a push-off. Let us also give credit to Scottie Pippen. The back problem that he had in Game 6 of the 98 NBA Finals, his bat flared up after that dunk, folks. Folks, Scottie Pippen stayed in that game. I know a lot of players that would have sat out that game. I mean, let's put some respect on Scottie Pippen's name. Folks, people keep disrespecting Scottie. This man is a top 50 player of all time. He's one of the best defenders, period, not just wing defenders. One of the best and most versatile players in NBA history. Scottie Pippen needs to be respected more. The Bulls don't win anything without Scottie Pippen. I will go to my grave saying that, okay? Scottie Pippen needs more respect, okay? Let's also talk about something that I know everybody wants to talk about, which is what Michael Jordan mentioned in episode 10 about the Bulls coming back, and if they had come back, they would have won 7 straight. He believes that, okay? So here's the thing. Let's break this down, okay? Let's break this down. Phil Jackson, we all know, everybody thinks Jerry Krause pushed him out, right? It doesn't matter if he wins 82 games. Jerry Krause said, you're done, Phil. Here's the thing. Phil Jackson wanted to leave, okay? Now, Jerry Krause obviously did not help the matter, but Phil Jackson had a rule in which he basically said that if he didn't want to stay with any team past a certain amount of time, I believe it was like 7 or 8 years with the team, 7 or 8 or 9 years with the team, because after a while, the team kind of tunes you out. Your voice does not hold the same amount of weight. And so it was time for him to move on. And he says in the documentary, he needed a break. So Phil Jackson was not coming back no matter what. Okay? So Michael Jordan says, you know, if Phil would have came back, I'm sure we would have been able to get Dennis back, Scottie back. Folks, there's a lot of issues here. Scottie Pippen wanted to get paid. It was another year where he was underpaid. I'm telling you right now, Scottie Pippen wanted to get his paper. And what happened after this season? Scottie Pippen got traded to the Blazers, and he did a sign-and trade with the Bulls. Why? Because he got $20 million more. That was his going-away present from both the Jerrys, okay? So Scottie Pippen needed to get his money. Okay, I love MJ. I really do. But Scottie Pippen was going to find a way to get paid. And the Bulls obviously were strapped up against the cap. They couldn't pay him what Portland paid him. Okay, Steve Kerr, Dennis Rodman, these other guys, they were going to get paid a lot of money too. Steve Kerr ended up getting a contract with the Spurs. Dennis Rodman ended up going to the Lakers, but he only played 35 games. And he actually was flaming out. Like, we knew Dennis Rodman's antics off the field were catching up to him. And there was no reason to believe that Dennis could have kept it in for another season. So, again, MJ says, you know, if the Bulls would have came back for one more season, he believes they would have won 7 straight. But I ask you this, okay? I ask you this. Let's say the Bulls come back for another season. And let's say they come back for 2 seasons, okay? And they win 1 championship. So they come back in 99 and 2000. I'll just say it, okay? And Michael Jordan and the Bulls end up going 7-1 in NBA championships, okay? Or even let's say this. Jordan never retires in 94 and 95 and 99, okay? Goes all the way through. And the Bulls win 1 championship and lose 2, okay? Let's just say it. Would you rather be 6-0 or 7-1 or 7-2? Because I put this poll up a few weeks ago and everybody picked 6-0. And my point with that is everybody wants to say, let the Bulls play another year. But folks, there was no guarantee they were going to win another championship. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of the nostalgia really behind Michael Jordan, the aura, the allure is the 6-0 perfect record in the NBA Finals. So you take that away, and a lot of people in that poll, they voted for 6-0. You take that away, you take away a little bit of the allure here. Me personally, I just want more championships. So if it gets me one more championship, even if we get a finals loss, I don't care. I want more rings. But point being is a lot of people are enamored with the 6-0 because it's perfect. It's perfection, right? And so, again, a lot of people don't know this because they don't know the context behind it. Jerry Krause, in his own memoir, said, we couldn't keep the team together even if we wanted to. Phil Jackson wanted to leave. Scottie Pippen wanted to get paid. Steve Kerr, the role players, were going to get paid by other teams. Michael Jordan could have came back with another coach. He didn't want to. And Michael Jordan, that summer, I believe, cut his hand, one of his fingers, on a cigar cutting blade. And he would have had to miss a significant portion of the time, if not the entire season. So call it what you might. I say it's all about luck. I say it's all about fate, destiny. That team was called, obviously the series and everything is called The Last Dance for a reason. That was it for that team. I don't believe that team would have been able to sustain past that. It was the ending. And I didn't think about that before this documentary. But after this documentary, after doing all the research, I read up on Jerry Krause's memoir. I looked up Sam Smith, the Bulls writer, what he said throughout all his, writing and books and whatnot. And from everything I've been able to gather, that team knew it. That was their last dance. And Phil Jackson, what did he do? He signified it by holding that, meeting together where they all wrote their thoughts down and they put it all together in the fire and they burned it. Folks, everything must come to an end. That was it for them. And it's not a bad thing because, like I said, had they came back and lost, that's a loss that, ruins the 6-0. So to me, just be happy with the 6 rings. I certainly am. I'm grateful, thankful, so happy for the 6 championships. But I know a lot of people want more, but I'm just happy with that. So phenomenal documentary, man. I'll probably rewatch it, but those were my takeaways. Let me know what your guys' takeaways were from the Last Dance documentary. Give me your favorite episodes, your favorite scenes, whatever it is. Let's talk about it, guys. That was phenomenal, man. I wish we could get 10, 20 more episodes. But that's all I got for you guys. As always, if you liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe, as always. Thanks for watching.